It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion. And so there was tension always in our relationship, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
After the election, I was so pissed off at that. How could this Texas cracker come here and run the black community? I was just livid about.
Who are you referring to?
Jesse Hunter, Big Daddy Fat Texas cracker. Okay, Hunter. Okay, him. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Trump RICO case down there in Georgia. You know, the case where they claim that Trump and his associates tried to overthrow the Georgia election because Trump simply asked questions about the vote count. And we did see some suspicious things on video, which weren't questions. But since he asked questions about it, they're saying he and his associates are running some big criminal organization. And the DA, the corrupt DA, Fani Willis, in Georgia decided to make a name for herself by throwing a RICO charge at this man. So I don't talk about these Trump criminal cases, these Trump civil cases. I don't talk about them a lot because we all know they're politically motivated, and I'm not going to give a lot of light to them, but I do need to keep you guys updated. So we're going to get an update on what's going on, the latest information down here in Georgia. There's actually a court hearing going on right now in Georgia where a judge is going to determine if Fani Willis and her boyfriend, or alleged ex-boyfriend now, are going to be thrown off the case because it looks like some corruption, it looks like some money laundering, it looks like she used this RICO case to enrich herself. Maybe she started the whole thing to begin with to enrich herself while also making a name for herself in the Democrat Party. So earlier this week, we had Terrence Bradley. He's the star witness. He's the ex-lawyer, ex-divorce attorney for Nathan Wade, the boyfriend. He went to court and sweated his ass off. This man was afraid to talk. So he kept saying, oh, I don't recall. It was only speculation. That's all he would say. Because what happened previously, and the reason why they called him to the stand to begin with, was this man gave information to Trump's lawyers and to one of the lawyers of Trump's associates. He was sitting there texting them, very lengthy text messages. We got several pages of text messages where this man was basically spilling the beans. Yeah, Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, yeah, they've been together for years. Even though Fani Willis didn't say that, she said they didn't get together until after the case started. But he said, yeah, I've seen it. Other people seen it. Many people know. Even her kids know. Everybody know that they were a couple. Even the other person that Nathan Wade was smashing in the office, she knew that Nathan Wade left her and he was smashing the DA. So it's a lot of drama. It seems like a soap opera. And this is all surrounding the Trump RICO case. This is surrounding Trump's alleged election interference in Georgia. But they brought this man into court and he ducked and dodged. He sent all of these text messages thinking that this lady was his friend, and they showed the message. I don't recall it. I don't remember seeing anything. Let's read a little bit because there's a lot, man. I can spend an entire video just talking about the text messages, but we're just going to read a little bit. Do you think it started before she hired him? This is Trump's associate lawyer, Ashley Merchant. She's talking about the relationship between Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. Absolutely. It started when she was in the DA's office and he was judge in South Fulton. And she liked that message. They met at the municipal court CLE conference. That's what I figured when he was married. And right here, she's sending him documents asking if it's accurate. And he confirmed, yeah, it is accurate. Now let's look at this little piece right here. Now he's texting her, you are my friend and I trust you. They will not. She's talking about other people that also know about this, but they're going to be resistant if she tries to get them to testify. Then he said they're arrogant as F because in an earlier message, she said they really thought that they were going to get away with this. So he's responding, they're arrogant as F. She thinks she won the other day when she didn't have to be deposed. So that goes on. And like I said, I can do a whole video about all of those texts. They're public now, they're leaked. And we all know this man was lying because he sent all of these messages basically spilling the beans, and then he got on the stand. I don't remember anything. Oh, I was only speculating when I said they were in a relationship. But even the left-wing media, they can't even hide it. Let's take a look at this clip.
About whether Fulton County DA Fani Willis, her top prosecutor, will stay in charge of the Georgia election interference case into Donald Trump. The judge just heard testimony yesterday from Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade's former law partner and divorce attorney, Terrence Bradley. Trump and his co-defendants hoped Bradley would provide testimony that Willis had a romantic relationship with Wade before she hired him, posing a possible conflict of interest. Instead, Bradley testified more than a dozen times that he didn't know or didn't remember details about that relationship. The judge has scheduled another hearing for Friday. Lisa Rubin's back with us. Also joining us, criminal defense attorney Danny Savalos. Lisa, you said yesterday that Bradley was either lying, speculating, or covering for Willis and Wade. Did he provide any clarity at all here or just further muddy the waters?
I think he muddied the waters a lot because he was either, as I said yesterday, lying and or speculating when he communicated with Ashley Merchant over text about the origins of the relationship and how early it started, or he was lying on the stand yesterday because he was deeply discomforted by having to testify essentially against his former law partner and even more troublingly, his former client, Nathan Wade. So I think it was a wash. The question is, where does that leave the defense in establishing a conflict of interest? I don't think they're any further along in showing that there was a conflict. On the other hand, if Judge Scott McAfee finds that Bradley is a liar, is that enough for him to create enough doubt that he wants to see things like the phone records that Trump's lawyers have offered to provide to him?
Danny, what's your assessment of where we are right now?
Yeah, building on what Lisa said, I think Judge McAfee really has two choices here. He can conclude, if he does conclude, and my sense is he didn't find Terrence Bradley credible. Well, let's say that's what he concludes. He might conclude, well, he didn't say anything, and therefore there's no additional facts that bolster the defense's case here. That's a possibility. Or what if he says, I find this witness and maybe the other witnesses not credible, and as a result, I will infer the bad things that they were trying to hide. This happens all the time. I hate to tell you that people get on the stand and lie all the time, and juries are instructed that if you don't find that person credible, you can imagine all kinds of bad things are actually the truth based on their false statements or their lack of credibility. So that might be really one of two options. And it really is the ultimate question here. What will Judge McAfee do with what I think, just based on his body language, that you saw many times he would stop questioning, like, look, you've made your point. I think he was saying you've made your point that Terrence Bradley is being evasive and he's not going to answer the defense's question.
Yeah, this guy's a liar. So let's also take a look at a little bit of his testimony.
Tell lies about your friends.
Have I told lies about friends? I could have. I don't know.
Do you tell lies about your friends about a case of national importance?
Objection. That's tough. All right. Overruled. I could have. I don't know. Well, I'm sorry. I did answer this. I answered it for Ms. Merchant. I stated that I was speculating. The judge, someone objected to the speculation, but this was the exact same language.
All right. Well, thank you for that recap, Mr. Bradley. Mr. Sadow was asking the question in a slightly different manner, and I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway to do that. So, Mr. Sadow.
All right. I hesitate to have to start back where I was, but after the word absolutely, you, on your own, said it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton. They met at the municipal court CLE conference. That's what you said, correct?
That is correct.
Now, it's your testimony, at least so far, that when you, on your own, gave those two statements in the text, that you were merely speculating and did not have that knowledge from Mr. Wade. Is that your testimony under oath?
Yes, that's what I testified to. Yes, sir.
So you on your own came up with the whole notion that it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton. That's, according to you, that's speculation on your part, correct?
Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Bradley.
Yes, that's speculation on my part. Yes.
And then we have Fani Willis herself. She's been very hostile, been very aggressive. She got people on Twitter supporting her. You go, girl. You can go in there and tell all those white men off because they're a bunch of racists. They're trying to make this whole thing about race. She's a corrupt as hell Georgia district attorney, but they don't want to talk about that. They want to say, oh, well, she's black and she's a woman. So if you have a problem, you must be sexist and racist. But she's lying about the relationship, clearly lying, being caught in her lies. She even claimed that she keeps thousands of dollars in her home. And she repaid Wade because they went on all these extravagant trips. They went to Central America. They went to the Caribbean. They went to Vegas. They were just living life, spending a whole lot of money. And she claimed that she repaid Wade because she allegedly keeps thousands of dollars of cash in her home because her daddy told her to do it. This is what her daddy wants. So she was able to repay him for all the trips because, remember, Nathan Wade is being paid over $600,000 to be the attorney, the prosecutor going against Trump, while other attorneys are being paid much less. So he's making all this money because she's using taxpayer money to pay him. But then he turns around and spends the money on her. But she's claiming she had cash to repay him, but has no proof at all. Let's listen to her a little bit.
Let's start back in 2019.
Yeah.
So you and Mr. Wade met in October 2019 at a conference?
That is correct. And I think in one of your motions you tried to implicate I slept with him at that conference, which I find to be extremely offensive. I stayed at that conference. Mr. Wade was my teacher. I did not meet him when he taught the class. I was standing outside talking to Lisa Reeves, who is a judge. Me and her were just having a conversation. Mr. Wade walks up. I think they hug each other. They have some brief conversation. She introduces us.
But Robin Yurdy, Willis's old college friend, told the court earlier the romantic relationship began in October of 2019. Willis previously lived in Yurdy's condo prior to their fallout, and the defense hammered her on whether Wade visited the condo prior to the election interference case. But Willis fired back, asserting the defense accusations were all lies.
How often did Mr. Wade visit you at a place where you were living between 2019 and 2021?
So you want to start with the lie that he lived with me in South Fulton in 2019, a home he's never been to? That's one lie you told in your document. No.
Judge, I didn't ask her about that.
Ms. Merchant, I want you to ask a very precise question. I think she's saying and answering that he did not live with her. So why don't we break that up into smaller parts?
And I didn't ask about living.
But you put in your, while we're talking about professionalism, she put in 3 different documents he lived with me.
Full opportunity to respond.
And filed that with the court.
In 2019.
He's never been to South Fulton. In 2019, I lived in South Fulton. He has never been to my residence in 2019, ever, not once.
In 2019, he's never been to your residence, any place.
I lived in my home in South Fulton before I started getting the threats that were here, a house I paid for with my own sweat and tears. I'm no longer able to live there. But in 2019, I did. And in the 2 months of 2019 that I knew Mr. Wade, 3 months, the beginning of October, all of November, and all of December, Mr. Wade never came to my house in South Fulton. Let me help you out. I lived there in 2020. He never came to my house in 2020, let alone live with me, as you put falsely in these documents. In the first 3 months of 2021, when I could still enjoy my home, Mr. Wade never came to South Fulton, and it is certainly a lie that he lived with me.
Let's just go one by one. Let's start with the first one. What's the first time you went on vacation with Mr. Wade?
I think the first time we went on vacation was around April of 22, and it's a vacation is a stretch, but I'm trying to be comprehensive. I recall April of 22. His birthday is March the 18th. So that would have been his 49th birthday. I took him to like Tennessee for the day. I think we went to a museum. I think we might have stayed the night. I'm not sure. But I mean, Tennessee's kind of hard to call a vacation, but I just am trying to be inclusive. And it, like I said, I know it wasn't more than a day.
So you didn't spend the night?
I think that we did. That's what I'm telling you. I think that there's a possibility that we stayed that night in April of 22.
Who paid for the hotel?
I think I did. It was his birthday.
When did you start dating?
When I started dating Mr. Wade, it was right around then.
April 2022?
22, yes.
2022.
It was around then. I don't know, like, you know, it's not like when you're in grade school and you send a little letter and it says, will you be my girlfriend, and you check it. I don't know the day that we started seeing each other, but it was early 22 is my recollection.
Okay, early 22. And you all went to Florida on vacation as well?
I don't recall going to Florida on vacation with him.
You never went to Florida with Mr. Wade?
When we went to get on the cruise ship, we went to Miami.
Okay, that's the only time that you went to Florida with him?
I think we went to Miami and spent the night. That's my recollection.
Okay.
I think we spent one night so that we wouldn't miss the ship. That's my recollection of our
Who paid for that hotel?
In Miami? I don't remember that.
And how'd you get to Miami?
We would have flown.
Okay.
And we've done that, so that I'm clear, we've done that twice. I think one time we stayed, and I honestly can't tell you, did we stay when the ship left or did we stay when the ship came back? I also can't tell you, so there's 2 cruises out of Miami. There's one that's in that October time period that was with his mom. And then there was another that was a New Year's Eve trip. I know I paid for the New Year's Eve trip because the tickets were $697 each. And I thought this is ridiculous that the tickets are $700 to go to Miami. But when you travel during New Year's Eve, you know, they get you.
And then after that cruise, you all flew to Aruba and spent a couple days in a hotel there, correct?
Right. And his mother was not happy
He
that we left her
initially
behind.
paid for that. He initially paid for that.
For Aruba, yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about both of those. I know he initially paid for it. Did you pay him back?
For the cruise and for Aruba, yeah, I gave him his money before we ever went on that trip.
You gave him cash before you ever went on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you got cash to pay him back on these trips, would you go to the ATM?
No, lady.
You would not go to the ATM?
No.
Okay. So Fulton County pays you direct deposit, I assume?
Yes, Fulton County and the state of Georgia both pay me direct deposits.
Okay. So the cash that you would pay him, you wouldn't get it out of the bank?
I have money in my house.
You have money in your house. So it was just money that was there?
When you meet my father, he's going to tell you as a woman, you should always have, which I don't have, so let's don't tell him that. You should have at least 6 months in cash at your house at all times. Now, I don't know why this old black man feels like that, but he does. When we were growing up, my daddy had 3 safes in the house. So my father's bought me a lockbox, and I always keep cash in the house. Now, I don't do it to the degree that my father would do it, so he would probably be ashamed with me, but I always have cash at the house. That has been, I don't know, all my life. If you're a woman and you go on a date with a man, you better have $200 in your pocket. So if that man acts up, you can go where you want to go. So I keep cash in my house, and I don't keep cash as good in my purse like I used to, because I don't go on many dates. But when you go on a date, you should have cash in your pocket.
You've never given Mr. Wade money through Cash App?
No.
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash?
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute. But I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened is, no, we're going to answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid.
That's her. And we also have Nathan Wade. He's saying that he barely even went over to her house, and they hooked up back in 2021, and some phone records came out. Apparently, the phone company tracked him in her neighborhood way before they said that they were together. Let's take a look at this clip.
Well, all new at noon, cell phone data from Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade's phone appears to show he visited the neighborhood where Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis lived at least 35 times in 2021. And this information appears to contradict testimony Wade gave in court last week. He said he visited Willis's condo no more than 10 times before she hired him on as special prosecutor in the election interference case in November of 2021. But cell phone data appears to show his phone connecting to nearby towers roughly 36 times between January and November of that year. The data is included in a filing from former President Donald Trump's attorneys. They want Willis and Wade to be disqualified over accusations that they enriched themselves through their work on this case. The data could prove a relationship began earlier than previously admitted in court.
When did you start dating?
When I started dating Mr. Wade, it was right around then.
April 2022?
22.
So what they didn't mention there in that clip right there, that the cell phone records have him in the area of her house during booty call hours. He was arriving 11 p.m., leaving 5 o'clock in the morning. And then he said, well, maybe I'll just go into the airport, hanging out at the airport in the middle of the night or getting something to eat for 6 hours in the middle of the night. Just because I was by her house don't mean I was there. So he later admitted, because nobody's going to believe that, he later admitted, okay, well, if I did go to her house, that means, we were just chilling. We were associates. We were just hanging out at midnight. But we're going to see what happens. We're going to see if they're throwing out the case. This is the corruption going on. It looks like she's paid him with taxpayer money, and now they're both enjoying that money, that taxpayer money. He's boosted up his income tremendously and just spending it on her. And they're sitting here lying. So she tries to call Trump a criminal while she's sitting on the stand committing perjury. In fact, they should be held accountable for that. Maybe they should be locked up for that. But we'll keep track of this. We'll see if they are thrown out. Let me know what you guys think about what's going on so far in this soap opera of the Trump RICO case with Fani Willis and Nathan Wade.